Hi students, so at this point you have hopefully selected your essay topic and you are now moving on to writing your introduction. And so this introduction is a new kind of introduction. You probably haven't written an introduction like this before, so get excited, something new. So in your writing career, you've likely written several introduction paragraphs, and we know that they should have a hook, a background, and a thesis. So you've probably written those before. However, with our unit essay, for our narrative essay, which will span between 2 to 4 pages, we need a different kind of introduction paragraph. Therefore, this essay, we will learn how to write a 2+ paragraph intro, a multi-paragraph intro. For instance, an outline of the structure looks like this. So we have kind of what you used to do. So last year, you know that you had a hook where you began your intro maybe with a question or a definition, and then you went into your background where you addressed the who, what, where, when, why, how, and all that jazz. And then you had your thesis of what you would prove and then the evidence you'd use to prove it. That's a really solid, a very solid introduction paragraph. However, we want to have a more creative and thorough introduction that really grabs your reader. And so what you do for a multi-paragraph intro is your hook is actually its own paragraph. So instead of a 1-sentence hook, you actually have a paragraph hook. And so you begin with some kind of story that creates suspense and introduces your topic. Okay, and so some students for this, when they're writing their narrative, they actually maybe start their essay with the climax of their narrative. So the most exciting part of their narrative, they actually begin there, and they'll open up their essay with it, and then they'll stop and they'll go back to the beginning. We see that a lot in TV shows, for instance, where like it starts with a really exciting scene, and then it like goes to a black screen and it says like 24 hours earlier, and then you go through the whole story back to the climax. So you can kind of do something similar with your hook, or you can just tell a related story that gets the idea going but builds some suspense. And then you go into the background and thesis that has its own paragraph. This should say paragraph 2. And so for paragraph number 2, you do have a shift into a more objective, informative tone. So you go from kind of the opening story, and then you shift into now your who, what, where, when, why, how. And so you get more objective, you get more informative, you give the background information to help us understand the topic of your essay. And then you go into your thesis, where you state the purpose of the essay, what readers will learn, and why they should learn it. And so it's very similar to what you've been doing. It's essentially your hook has gotten longer. Okay? All right, so this kind of explains everything that I just said. So for your task for this checkpoint, what you're going to do is there are student samples located below. And this actually matches up to the student samples that we reviewed in checkpoint 2. So the essay about immigration, the essay about competitive students with scoring, and the essay about procrastinating due to technology. We have the introductions to each of those essays. And so what I would like for you to do to help you see what this kind of new intro would look like for your narrative essay, I want you to take a look at some student samples in the boxes below. And then for the student samples, we will complete reverse outlines to better understand how they wrote their successful introduction. When doing this, we will use our basic terms, hook, background, thesis. However, we will also bring in new terms, suspense, topic, setting, elaboration, conflict, foreshadowing, tone, purpose, etc. So please complete the following. Review our guided reverse outline for student sample 1 right here, and then you'll choose either student sample 2 or student sample 3, and you'll create your own reverse outline. So if you don't know what a reverse outline is, that's okay. That's why we have the example here. So this is an example of what you do for a reverse outline. So normally we're used to making an outline, And then from our outline, we write our essay. But a reverse outline is when you take an essay that's already been written and you turn it back into an outline to more easily see how it's structured. So here we have the student introduction about from the immigration essay. And here we have the reverse outline that helps break down what this student actually did in her intro, so that you could hopefully then recreate these kind of techniques and write your own really good introduction. So let's take a look at it. So we have, my little old self would have never considered how life can change within a range of seconds, minutes, days, and months. So what does she do? Let's reverse outline. So she starts by establishing a tone with my little old self. This shows her personality. So remember we talked about how this is a more informal essay, so you can show personality. And she does that in kind of like the way she phrases things. And so in the reverse outline, we make that note. Then it says, I would have never considered how difficult it would be to move to a different country. And so what does this do? She builds suspense by indicating that she experiences a lot of change, but not explaining how yet. So in this second sentence, she's building the suspense, which is one of the words that I've asked you guys to use. So if you need help, you can go back to this list of words. These are the kind of words you would use in your reverse outline. So she's building suspense, but not quite sharing what's happened yet. And then she says, however, one morning I woke up knowing that it would be the last time in which I saw my bed and my dog and my family and my land. I still remember looking at Elvoken, I'm going to say that wrong, so I'm not going to say it, before sunrise, and telling myself it was real. So she identifies the topic, which is moving to a different country. And then she includes a description of her home. And she does a really good job of it. She has this and this and this and this. So she identifies her topic. She includes the description. And then she says, please allow me to tell you how my life changed. My abuela once asked my mom if she wanted to come to the United States. My mom, thinking to the future of her children, said yes. And so here she includes a quick anecdote of who suggested the move to the U.S. So this reverse outline breaks down how the student has achieved such a successful hook, and it helps us better understand how we might do it. So establishing with a tone, building suspense, identifying the topic, utilizing a description, and ending with a quick anecdote. So now let's go to the background and thesis. None of us knew how difficult it would be to adapt to a new lifestyle, new language, new climate, and new home. So she lists the changes that she will cover that were difficult. So she gives background on kind of like the different difficulties her essay will cover. My mom, just as everyone else who came to this country, came in the hope to find the American dream. My siblings were young, therefore they do not remember as much as I do. So then she explains why they came to the U.S., the American dream. She also identifies who came with her, her siblings. So that's important. We have the why of the who, what, where, when, why, and we have the who of the who, what, where, when, why. And then she goes, oh, and it's one thing I should note before moving on is note that she doesn't do the who, the where, the when, the why, the how. She doesn't go through every single one. She determines which ones are actually important, the why and the who, and then she moves on. So you don't always have to do every single one of them. Figure out which ones are actually necessary to your story. And then she writes, so my own experience goes like this. I left the land which saw me be born on Thursday. On Friday, walked over a foreign land, and I started school on Monday. So it's a super creative thesis. I really love this thesis. It's not your traditional thesis. So it's a really creative thesis. What is this supposed to say? She gives maybe a description to show readers how sudden the change of home was in her life. And so essentially her thesis is, my life changed really suddenly. But instead of saying, my life changed really suddenly, she found this really creative way to show how her life changed. She woke up on Thursday in her home. On Friday, she traveled to the US, and on Monday, she started school. Could you imagine? And so that is how you do a reverse outline for an intro. So what I'd like for you to do is you can either choose student sample number 2, which is pretty long, or you can choose student sample number 3, whichever one. So student sample number 2 is the one about scores, like student scores, and the competitiveness between students. It's a very good intro. It's very good. And then this sample one is also a good intro. It's about procrastination due to technology. So choose one or the other. You don't have to do both, and reverse outline it. Okay? Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing how your reverse outline turns out. If you have any questions, please feel free to G-chat me, email me, see me during office hours, any of the above, multiple of the above. It's up to you. All right, thank you so much, and good luck with your intro. Bye.